On Pollute Your Soul, we have Aaron Poole joining for the fucking podcast. He's an amazing musician, businessman, an amazing podcaster. He hosts a business-oriented podcast live at Stitch House Brewery and makes a lot of great music and shit. We met through a film that we worked on. It was the band in the fucking movie that we worked on. He's honestly a very talented musician, and he has a lot of stories to tell. He's been in the game for a minute. Been in the music game, the advertising game, various different games and whatnot for a minute. He joins the show in person, in the studio, the lair of Pollute Your Soul. And we talk about a lot of different shit. You're going to love this episode. Let's get right into it.
Who are like the two rappers? It sounds like Key and Peele or like Cash and Clay.
Oh, Eric, fucking...
From back in the day.
Eric Gim Rakim?
No.
Fucking...
Kid and Play.
We're recording now, but who is that and what song is that?
Like, yeah, here's a little story from back in the day when there's something coming back my way. It's like the Ice Cube era. I can't remember who it is.
The same fucking...
Yeah.
Flow, like,
yeah.
Yeah, the whole fucking, it's all the same.
Yeah.
And then they go into like a DJ scratch, like for 16
Here's the little
bars.
story that I want to tell about 3 dope boys in a wishing well or whatever.
Fucking,
It just
some shit like that. Well, we're on a podcast. Pollute Your Soul. We got Aaron Poole here. Yeah.
Are we live?
We're not live, but we're like recording.
But yeah, okay, but we're rolling.
We're rolling.
All right, yeah, I appreciate it. Good to be here.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
We're speaking at the same time.
Yeah.
That was awkward. It is what it is, though. Sometimes that shit happens.
Pete.
You remember people used to say "Jinx, you owe me a soda," and remember I started saying that like a couple of years ago again. People were like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right, yeah.
Don't you miss those days?
Jinx, you owe me a Coke. Yeah, I do. But I feel like they ran its course,
Yeah.
Or at least that joke. But no, I know what you mean. When we had shared jokes and like you didn't have to spend 5 hours on TikTok to know what everyone's talking about.
Yeah. What do you think about do you think attention span being like smaller is like good or bad? What do you think? Or is it just something you're gonna have to adjust to as an artist?
In music, I mean, it is definitely very good for certain types of artists. It's very, very bad for others. The long form artists, the people who like the rock operas and they like to build an emotion and then like have something come crashing in and then fade out again. It's very bad for them, for sure. I mean, you can just see nowadays in crowds too, like when you play a major song, it's like all happy and like people are like kind of bobbing around, but everyone feels like it's like all the same song. It's all just Hanson's bop. And when you play it in a minor key, you can just like see them. All right, finally, I can like sink my teeth into this. It's like this vibe fits the vibe I was feeling all week. People are definitely feeling more minor keys nowadays for sure.
What is that? Like darker music? Or
like sadder, slower stuff. Like Pharrell's Happy. I think the reason that went so big was because no one had heard like a major key bopper in a while.
Yeah, because it's a very happy song.
It's a happy song, yeah.
And what's it called? He's also just a great producer too. He kind of knows what he's doing, like with the music and shit. Because he had a really good 2015 run with he did All Right by Kendrick, I believe. That was he produced that. He did some other songs, but he had a good run around then too. So that contributed to it. But yeah, with the minor thing, also kind of talk with someone about distortion. Now, distortion is now. I think I wrote an article on this. maybe last year about how the newer kind of artists that are popping are making very distorted music in terms of underground rap specifically, like with the there's this dude named Cemetery, then there's this dude Sempra, or like NASCAR Aloe, or like Zillakami, City More, SOS Mula, or like who else? Who's going on tour recently? I would compare them to like the I you know, this is a general kind of term, but like the Suicide Boys type shit. You know who they are? Or like you know, but like the underground rap shit that's popping is very like distorted and mixed poorly, and it's very popular to like put Bloody Overdrive on the master and FLC. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, no, I do. The lo-fi stuff, it's definitely been making a comeback.
Freddie Dredd.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know who that is, but
not really. No, I'm definitely.
I'll show you him.
Yeah, you got to send me some of this. This is one of the reasons that I'm here. You know, is like I got to reconnect to the newer music for sure. But back to the attention span thing though, just for a minute, is it's like, you know, people crave texture. They crave texture in songs, and I feel like there was a long run there where like the songs were so overproduced. Everything was so clean. It all felt digital, and it felt like it was being done on a space station. Like it wasn't like one of the things that's great about lo-fi is it feels like someone's recording that in the other room, you know, or it's like if you got your headphones on, it feels like it's like your friend just recorded it down the street and you just popped it in, you know, that kind of like intimate, like lower quality. It makes it feel like it's an average person making it, because there was a run of music there for a while that was like, it was so overproduced and so clean that even like the underground shit sounded like pop, you know.
Like underground rap around like 2012. If you look at it, it's actually very well mixed.
It is. Ableton. That was the age of Ableton back then. The loops. And
the fucking everybody's using the same kind of snares, like the Lex Luger snare, or like the what's it called? Also the synths too. You can hear a lot of the same synths and songs, and everybody was using like even in rap pop stuff was like a lot of synth pop or like EDM dubstep inspired. Or the reverb piano chords.
Tough one.
Call me maybe. Like
I grew up with a lot of reggae, so I miss like the perk organ and like the long holds and like that clean stuff over like, you know, a dirty bass line or something like that. I like that kind of texture between dirty and clean. And 2012 through like 2016, 17, almost everything felt like it was so clean. What I call the click and drag era, where you get like a 1 or 2 bar loop and then you just click and drag it across the whole song.
So that shit. Yeah, I know what you mean, bro. Like a lot of this. I mean, especially there's one producer, Mustard on the Beat. He's still doing good hits. I still like his stuff, and he's a great producer. But he did that song. He did a lot of songs like Chris Brown, Kid Ink, and all this shit. And they all had the same bells that were like, and it was like. It was like, hey yo, and it's like, damn, bro, everything sounds like so good, and now like everything's kind of like shit, like in a good way. I'd like it. I make music that is mixed very poorly because first of all, I don't know what I'm doing. So at Temple, I am going to be taking music technology courses. When I transfer to Temple, but so I can learn how to learn the rules and then break them. You know what the people say, whatever. But first, it's like it's also just normal in my fucking like like newer music to just like distort the fuck out of everything. Like XXX Tentacion, he fucking everything he did was distorted and shit. And that's because people want loud shit. But you said you grew up with reggae. Like what would you say you grew up with in general, like artists and stuff like that, and what kind of got you into like making the music that you liked to listen to as a younger lad?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to date myself here for sure, but as a younger lad, that's I mean, I started on drums actually, and I love drums. I love like percussion, clean. I love like that clean, front beat so that you can mess around with the backbeat, and in the early days, it was like I picked up a guitar, I started messing around. I had a background in piano too. Like I'd taken piano lessons as a kid. So even though I was playing drums, I still kind of missed the melody. And at one point I was listening to the Sex Pistols. Now the Sex Pistols were already old by the time I showed up. I didn't listen to them back when they were playing.
Yeah. That's like
I'm not 85.
Yeah, that's like the old. That's like like Gen X or whatever.
They were big in like 70s and 80s, I guess, or even a little earlier.
Yeah.
I'm not your music expert. Like, I'll rank my numbers here in a minute. But I'm more of like the, where some people know exactly what the chroma notes are on the colors as a painter. They're like, yes, I'm painting with number 64334. I'm more of like I just like will grab a color and start painting. The details of who did what song when. It's never been something that's stuck in my brain very well. It's like I've probably listened to every Zeppelin song 40 times, and I'm still like, is this Kashmir?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I picked up a guitar and I started hammering out chords to God Save the Queen. And it's a great song. God save the Queen, God save the Queen, the fascist regime. It's very relevant. But yeah, and I couldn't believe how little work went into sounding just like them. Like that's what really made me realize like the bar is low to being a half decent artist. The bar is high to being a really good artist. Very, very high. Yeah. But it's low to being half decent. And like me and my friend just started jamming and we sounded like as good as them. Now that's an insult to punk as much as it's a compliment to how good we were at the time. But yeah, it was in that kind of made me realize like, wow, the bar is low enough where I could actually be a musician. So I started playing more guitar, and this was back, I was listening to Rancid and Tom Petty and NWA and like all sorts of like whole mishmash of music back then and trying to emulate a lot of it. And then it was like shortly after that I started writing songs, and yeah, people just I always thought I was going to be an artist like drawing. I used to love to draw and paint and stuff. And I as a younger kid, I admired Gary Larson, The Far Side. I thought that would be the coolest job ever, writing 1 or 2 cartoons a week. And that's your life, right? That was, but yeah, once I started playing guitar and singing a little bit, people they said, well, you sound good. And that was kind of that. It was like the world told me that I should be doing this because people gave me compliments. Nobody was like, let me see your comic books. Let me see your drawings. Yeah. They were like, let me hear you play. So I started playing more and more. And yeah, and then it was a lot of original bands. I was very like, original music that's the point of a musician. And now I'm not knocking people who do covers at all, especially in 2024. Like the world's changed a lot. Yeah. But back then it was like there was no Spotify, there was no Apple Music. It was the only way you listen to music. Now this is definitely dating me, but the only way you listen to music is to buy the album, right? And so it was like, why would I play other people's music? Like I want to create my own music. And the irony is like I had so much fun. I had such like a good result in doing live original music and kind of letting people know, hey, there's only one place you can get this original music. That's at my live show. That the irony is I never really recorded much in those days because like I liked that it was it was like a premium. You can't go home and listen to my songs. If you want to hear my songs, you have to come see me live. And then yeah, and that was really the beginning of it, is like I got addicted to the notion that when I'm performing an original song, that's the only place that's happening in the entire universe.
That's something you can't, like, everybody's fucking, everything's everywhere right now. Like, right. That's why, I was just talking with somebody about, like, doing a fucking, like, and I advise most artists to do this, is to make exclusive shit for like certain time periods and then maybe release it later.
Yeah.
Like maybe build up hype by. You can build up hype by making shit exclusive. Say,
right.
You can only get this here.
Right.
And then people will really want to do like check it out, and it also just makes your life more fun, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's that Banksy vibe, right? That it's like as soon as people enjoy it, destroy it in front of them. You know, you remember when his painting sold at auction and then it got shredded?
No.
You remember? So one of his paintings, he put it out there in the world to be bought or sold or whatever, with the intent that one day it would go to auction. And then when it sold at auction, the frame had a built-in shredder. So as soon as it sold for like $2 million, as soon as it sold for $2 million, it shredded into little pieces. And I think that was a lot of the attitude I had in my early career as a musician, which was like, my songs aren't meant to be like cataloged for you to enjoy at home. They're meant to be a carrot to get you out to a live show and experience it live. And
yeah,
now looking back, I regret not laying a lot of that stuff down. I really do. But at the time, it felt really cool.
You probably did, yeah, because like now, like people that are younger that make music, unless you're like kind of in a band, like people that are in bands, like punk bands, like locally, kind of don't really give a fuck about recording, like until like a certain point.
Yeah.
But if you're like rapping, nobody gives a fuck about your live show most of the time. And so like, and people will pop out of open mics and shit, but like really, like if you're rapping, there's no like kind of notion like you have you're expected to have a good stage presence, and that's really sad. And that's why with the like it's just a lot of people I see that like are really bad at performing music that are rapping, or they just like lip sync over the song, and I do that shit, and my next one I'm not going to do it.
There's nothing wrong with doing that, but I will say, like, if you're going to perform to a backing track, please take the vocals out of your backing track. Because when people are singing over their own recorded voice, it's like, it's not a great experience for the audience, you know? It's just not. It's just like, it's hard to understand the lyrics that they're saying and all that stuff, and it's like, you know, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, like, if you have the time, when you're with your producer, you produce your track and then kick out an identical track without vocals in it, so that when you do it live with a backing track, we only hear your live vocals over that track. Because if we hear your live vocals over a track that also has produced vocals, it creates this like wobble and an echo, and you lose your enunciation. And the whole thing just kind of feels like I'm hanging out with my friend's little sister in the basement while she's lip syncing over Taylor Swift, you know?
Yeah. And but that's actually the not the standard, but most people that do rap shows now,
yeah,
even on a professional level,
right?
Even like
I know
they do that shit, and I know a few people that don't do that shit. So from now on, I'm not doing it. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Now, and if I do have vocals, they're just gonna be ad libs.
Yeah.
Like that's what I fuck with too.
Can I say though, for the audience at home, do what you got. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's bad to do it. Do what you have. Don't let trying to make a perfect live show stop you from just having a live show.
Yeah, like if you gotta do it, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Totally.
And honestly, like I had to do that for like a year before my next John. I'm fucking.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to yuck anyone else's yum. Like, for sure, like, if that's the way you feel comfortable doing it and that's what's going to produce the best outcome for your people, then do it that way. I was just more so making the statement that, like, the next step up is to give your people a live vocal performance. Then the next step up after that is to bring in drums and bass and have drums and bass play along to some tracks. And then the real... Let's be real, like the goal of all live music is for it to be mostly live with a handful of samples, you know, like that's what's exciting. People want to be able to see, like, you know, if the crowd is sluggish, then the tempo's a little slower. If the crowd's really hyped, people want to be able to see this canned, it's like a ghost in a jar. And the live show is you let that out of the jar.
Yeah, like I was at fucking, you know, Ghostman. You ever heard of Ghostman?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like a metal rapper and shit like that. Like he does, and he has an entire band do his raps. Yeah, because he also does just make straight up metal music, but a lot of his stuff is like metal, and then there's like a full on like trap drum pattern, and the drummer like takes a break but still moves his head around. You know what I mean? And it's cool, but the guitarists still do their thing, and he still does his thing, and I mean, even older. Like rap shows, like that shit's very uncomfortable, probably.
So it's all good. Even older rap shows, yeah.
But older rap shows, they like I saw old Drake. Bad time to be talking with Drake, but whatever. But he did his tour for Take Care was actually like really well done. There's a drummer, there's a guitarist, there's all this shit for like all the songs, and they had background melodies, and they'd have everybody recreate the song live.
Yeah,
and it was a great fucking tour. Like if you watch the footage.
Saying all that, like I do want to reiterate, I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm not saying don't do it. It's just different. It's just a minor preference. But I will say, as someone who has spent a lot of his career like with live musical artists, a backing track never has to call his wife to see if he can play on Friday night. A backing track never, forgets the songs you practiced. A backing track doesn't get drunk and ruin everything. Meaning, like when you're playing with actual people, there's all sorts of variables, and shows can get messed up for silly reasons. Whereas a backing, so I've been thinking a lot about like I have all these originals, and they don't really get out much because I don't have people to play them live, or at least I'm rebuilding that right now. And I have been thinking, especially for some of these nights where there's like 7, 8, 9 artists going on in the course of 2-3 hours, it's easier to just plug in the iPhone, just do a handful of tracks, let people enjoy my stuff and move on, than it is to like unplug everything, break down, gather everyone up, there's like 10, 15 minutes in between songs. So I do give a lot of respect to like the flow of a night and making sure like it's about the crowd. And when you're doing a band switch over, it's 15 minutes of dead time,
Yeah, it can definitely like interfere with the crowd's ability to have fun and shit.
Yeah.
And what can we expect in terms of like original music, and where are you with that?
Yeah, so this is a long story, but the short version is I have like 40 to 50 originals, but only about maybe 8 to 10 of them are produced in a way. So go to thefullcarbongetup.com. You can check out. I'm trying to move a lot of this stuff from my SoundCloud over to Spotify. I was just telling you the story about like the music licensing and all that. Like on Spotify, I have an account, Aaron Poole, and that's like got one really well done song. But I'm trying to load up my artist name, which is Full Carbon, and I had 7 tracks that were supposed to be up there by now, but for some reason the distribution, like it all got hung up in between like Aaron versus Full Carbon. So that's something too to consider for those listening out there, is like pick your brand early and then just run with your brand. Because I went and switched brands midstream and it just like confused everything. But the artist, like when I'm on stage alone, I'm Full Carbon, and when I'm with a full band, it's called The Full Carbon Getup, and that's where you'd find my stuff, thefullcarbongetup.com. There's some good content up there, but yeah, I mean, really, like one of the reasons I was reaching out to you and some others is like, I'm trying to kind of rebuild. I was out of the scene for 6 years, and I've been back for about a year, and I'm trying to kind of like rebuild that network so that I can kick out a lot of songs, because I have a ton of songs. I'm just not a very good producer, you know, mixed with, I'm a little bit like of a perfectionist with my stuff. I'll get halfway through producing one of my songs and I'll just like suddenly just hate it, just trash it, and just go back to life for a month or two and then start that process again. So like things don't get actually released. They get halfway finished and then get stuck on a logic drive. I'm sure a lot of artists out there can identify with that. But yeah, so I'm at this place where I'm trying to move back. I'm trying to move more away from reggae. Is like a lot of like what I built a career in. But I'm trying to kind of like move away from reggae and more towards like funk and like more like hip hop and like rhythmic stuff. Yeah. But it's like I got this 12 12-track like reggae album that never got released. It's like sitting on my drive right now. And so I'm like, I find myself all backed up with original music. But like, if someone comes to see one of my shows and I'm on a bill with other people, they're going to get like the funk, the hip hop, like the exciting stuff. And it's like if like Red Hot Chili Peppers and Tribe Called Quest like made a band together. That's what I'm going for.
That's good.
Yeah. But if you catch me at like a solo show, it's 3 hours, you're going to catch a lot of reggae for sure. But it's good reggae. It's like rhythmic. It's not like me, singing Three Little Birds and No Woman, No Cry and stuff. It's
Yeah, you did some reggae at the one joint I was at, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That every Wednesday at Stitch House I do like a small business like kind of sit down podcast, and then I'll play like, but that's a brewery, right? Like no one's like, everyone's kind of chilling and eating, so like that's not the best time to bring out the heavy stuff.
Yeah. You did like you did a really good cover of fucking me and Julio down by the schoolyard.
Oh yeah.
I fucking love that song.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the other thing too, is it's like, when I'm out in the streets of Wilmington, I'm there for the crowd. Like if a handful of older folks are, I'll play some Tom Petty or Paul Simon or whatever. But I try and play like for people to be happy in certain environments. But then if it's like Friday or Saturday night at like Logan House or Deer Park or something like that, like it's gonna be the heavier stuff.
Yeah, because like people kind of are expecting to be like some grandiose shit.
Yeah, and I want them to go home being like, I want, when people see me play live, I want them to leave being like, damn man, I can't wait to see what he does next with that. Like,
yeah,
I got a huge chip on my shoulder, just about everything, nothing personal, but society, the world we live in, the way we live, how to find happiness, all that stuff. And like, I view music as these little tiny moments, right? Your week is several hundred hours long, and you're only doing a live show for an hour, 2-3 hours of that. So I view music as these little tiny snippets of time where you just cut loose and you want to leave people wanting more. And you also want, you want to bring the energy and the intensity that makes people feel like, damn man, I'm glad I came out tonight. I almost sat home and played my phone game for another 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know you mean, yeah.
I was doing Candy Crush and putting off doing the dishes, and I'm glad I came out to catch some music. And that's the goal. Even if it's not your genre, like I want people to feel like it was a good use of their time,
Where did you go for 6 years?
So it's actually music related. So I was writing a whole bunch of songs in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12. I was playing with a local reggae band. I wrote a bunch of reggae tunes for them. And then a friend of mine was doing kids music. So I wrote a bunch of kids music songs. And he put those songs into a curriculum. That curriculum turned into a company, a subscription, children's music subscription company, where you pay like, $10-15 a month to have access to 800 something kids lessons. It's Prodigy's music for those who have Litlins at home, prodigies.com. And yeah, so this curriculum had a handful of my songs in it. Long story short, they got funded in 2016, and I was right in the middle of, running the Full Carbon Get Up and doing bands and events and I was in the Bullbuckers on guitar for a while, doing all this music stuff. And then they get funded and they're like, hey, you should come write songs for us and help us grow this company. And I was like, where are you guys at? And this 2016, they said, we're in Maui. And I was like, Maui as in the Hawaii Maui? And I'm like, all right, well, I already bought my plane ticket. Like, I already got my plane ticket. We'll negotiate terms when I land, which was a mistake. You should definitely iron out as many details as possible before you join a venture. But at the same time, it all worked out well. Great friends. I lived in Maui for 1.5 years, writing songs, living on the side of a mountain, was a really, really cool period of my life there. Wrote a lot and really just like, you know, I could tell like a personal development story about that time. But in short, I did that for a year and a half, and then we had built most of the curriculum. We needed someone to sell it. I have background in sales and marketing, so I came back to the mainland. I also had some family stuff going on at that time. So I came back to the mainland and started, you know, it's obviously cheaper to live here as well. So I started pitching this program, and that was that for a number of years. But the personal development story, this is going to be a solid one for the artists out there who get in their own heads. Because what's really crazy is like for a lot of my life, I kind of had like this voice in my head saying that I sucked, saying that everyone thinks I suck. Every time someone's like looking at me funny, I'm like, what? They got a problem with me, blah, blah, blah. I was catching all this criticism that it wasn't really real, you know? I was just perceiving criticism. I was perceiving that people didn't like me, that people didn't like my music. And I was like fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah.
And I had all these negative voices in my head. And then when I moved to Maui, like I didn't know anybody there. Like the people who I worked with, like the partners in this company, they had their own life, right? And they were like 40 minutes away on the island. So I'd see them once or twice a week. But like I was just like living on the side of a mountain by myself in like a shack for like 6 months. And I noticed that like this negativity and these voices didn't stop. I was still catching negativity. I still thought everybody didn't like me. And there was no one around to generate the negativity. And that was the first time in my life I realized that it's like the call's coming from inside the house, you know?
Yeah,
the negativity is coming from inside myself. And not from the people out there in the world, not from people in the music scene. Like maybe there were some people who didn't like me, but it was, you know, it was just like ancillary. Like you can't, not everyone's going to like you. It's just something you got to get over. But yeah, I realized that like the negativity was still going even though nobody was around. And that was the first time in my life that I was like, you know, I gotta have a serious conversation with myself and like, this is going to sound so cheesy, but like learn to love who I already am, not beat myself up until I become the person that I one day will be.
Yeah, that'll never fucking work because you'll never like be enough, even if you get to where you want to be. Like that shit.
Yeah. And it was slowing me down more than, you know, like when you like want to wake up in the morning and work out, right? And you sleep in and you call yourself a loser and you say, man, I suck. I have no discipline. I'm this, that, whatever. Like this is so apt to say on a podcast. Is it's like a lot of those podcasts out there, they just literally will like yell at you that you're a failure and a loser until you start an e-commerce business.
I hate that shit, yo. Like everybody's like fucking drop shipping. Fucking when really what they're doing is just like fueling whatever the fuck's going on.
They also have their own demons, and they've just learned to harness their demons, right? But that doesn't work for everybody. Not everybody can put a bridle on their demons and ride it to like, you know, a 10K a week e-commerce journey.
Website,
you know. And my demons were messing me up more than helping me. My demons, every morning I wake up, they'd be like, man, you got 40 songs, you haven't released an album. And I'm like, I know, I'm gonna work on it. Instead of working on it, I would just like go gardening or whatever, just like go for a nature walk. I was avoiding all the big things because I didn't like the voices in my head and the way they were talking about the big things. And that was like one of the first times in my life that I like let go. I stopped beating myself up. I started kind of embracing more of like a positive energy. And now even to this day, like if my dishes sit in the sink for like a day or two, I'll hear a voice in my head being like, you know, you loser, just do the dishes. It only takes 5 minutes. And I'll be like, whoa.
Calm down.
They only take 5 minutes, but there's no need to call yourself a loser. Just go do the dishes. Don't make this personal, you know? And I think a lot of artists, they make it real personal. It's like you're either a success or a failure. And the reality is no one's really a success or a failure. We're all just trying to find joy, you know? Just trying to find things that make us happy and keep us moving. But
yeah, like there's this concept of like not being enough until you're discovered or like famous or rich, and it's like there's a lot of people that are working class that make good stuff and able to make like maybe just like half of like the rent, still work a normal job and be happy and still be able to make good stuff. Like I know a lot of people I listen to music to have jobs. Yeah, like I'd say like a good half of them, and
they're happier because they don't need to enslave their music to become a capital driver. You know.
Or even with filmmakers too, like it's very hard to make money in the film world, especially with what's going on. And I know a lot of like working class like filmmakers that are able to make a decent amount of money, and still like be happy with what they're making, and it's like, or they do some other shit too that's like creative. Like there's not this kind of like you're gonna get discovered, you're gonna get all this money, and it's like. Even when you do, like I know people that are like that, like there's still like a lot more hard work to be done, even if you do get to that point. Like I know people that, like have gone on tour and have toured, like they're still busting their ass and they're still like no freedom. They might have some freedom, but you still have contractual obligations to fulfill. Like you have to be at the show, or else like you gotta pay, like or what? It's just a bunch of shit like that. It's not like nothing is really easy.
And it's a furnace too. Like just because you built the train and put it on the tracks doesn't mean that it's gonna go. You got to put fuel in that thing, and you can put fuel in it for a year or 2 years, and then you stop. You go do something else, or you go find peace, or you start a family or whatever, and that train slows down. You know. And if you want it to get going, I mean, this is what happened to me. I stopped fueling my train for 6 years. Now I'm coming back. And it's so weird because it's like, I know there are people out there who like my music because they were encouraging me my whole life. But nowadays with the algorithms, it's like, I'll post something about a show and sometimes it'll be 30 people. Oh, I can't wait to come in. And other times there'll be no one. And I'll be like, man, this is part of the train on the tracks. Like, I don't know if everyone saw it and nobody cared, or if nobody saw it because Facebook is trying to trick me into boosting a post. I have no clue. But I gotta just keep going. I gotta just keep stoking the fire because
that's facts.
Because what else is there too? Is it's like it's But to go back a step real quick about people who fund their art, that's something that I see a lot more as someone my age is like, they realize that they did art because they love art. They didn't do art because they wanted to be a millionaire. I mean, yes, in a capitalist society, everyone wants to be a millionaire, right? It makes your life easier. But explain to me why the richest people I know are the least happy. And the poor ones who do music all the time seem to have meaning. And then those in the middle who have day jobs and they use that money to fund their art projects, why are they so content? It's like they are so content. Those are some of the most content people I know, is the ones who don't have to worry about money because they have a regular job. And then so when they do go to do art, it's only about the art. They're not looking at how many
bunch of fucking money.
Exactly.
That's and that's the thing some people just can't get through their head, and that's what will cause like a lot of like shit to be made, like a lot of bad music or bad movies, because they're trying to mold their like you said earlier, like they try to like mold their image to what they think the standard is, when really there's no standard, and whatever quote unquote blows up, there's no rule to what it is. It's usually just some random bullshit. Yeah. Like even like we're talking about like the distorted shit. Mm-hmm. It's because a lot of the shit that blows up is like self-produced and self-mixed music that just happens to blow up because some shit. Like there's no rule. Like there's that one song with the fucking 11-year-old that recorded it on BandLab on his phone. Yeah. And it blew up, and it's like you can't go by the rules when there really is not rules.
Right.
I mean, there's some rules, but
there's not. And I mean, I think a meme I saw recently that sums up a lot of where we're at with music is like, when I signed up to be an artist, I thought it was going to be about making art, not tricking an algorithm.
Oh yeah, like fuck the algorithm. Fuck Spotify.
That one hurts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So speaking of Spotify, the one song you can catch on there right now, all the other stuff is on its way, so keep checking back. But Aaron Poole, AARONPOOLE, it's called "This Is Life," and that was like people had told me for years, it's like, hey man, you do all this original stuff, you should every now and then put out a song that like other people might like a pop song, like something that might actually have a broader audience. And it never really sat right with me. Like I always had that feeling, like what you were just saying, is like, I don't want to create music solely for the purpose of commercial value. But this song, it had been sitting there for a while, and I actually wrote it. I lost a friend, a great comedian, Billy Bartz, rest in peace, bro. Like maybe 10 years ago. And I was like, I kind of learned after the fact that like he just, it was like a bit of a cry for help. He just felt like kind of like he was a burden to people, and he wasn't. Everyone loved him, but we kind of learned that later, and the song it's an uplifting song. It's called "This Is Life," and it's kind of like this is life, this is really your life. It's like this is your only life, this is your go, so like make the most of it. But it starts out where it's like, hey you, if you're sitting at home, if you're feeling the warmth, do you know we as one, we can make it a storm? Meaning like, if you're feeling alone, go spend time with people. And that's how you turn it into like a storm, kind of like that's how, it's like you enjoy the rain, I guess is another way to say it. And and then it was like that one sat on the back burner for like 8 years. And then I finally got a chance to produce a song and like hire a producer. Larry Scott Jr., by the way, Jam 24/7 Studios. They helped me produce that one. They're right down here in Newark. And yeah, and it was kind of like a goofy song. It's got like a whistle hook. It's got like some rain in there. It's like, it feels like a song that was like, produced by someone who wanted to do something unique. But it's grown on me because like it's got pop vibes, but it's got a real deep like meaning
message.
to
That's
me.
Good.
Yeah. And and it's kind of grungy too, because it's got like a breakdown or whatever where it's like, almost like emo style. And so that's the one that's out there right now. There's plenty of other stuff that's more like in the hip hop and funk genre that's on its way. But that was one that I had a hard time writing pop songs, and so my pop song, of course, is like written about a friend of mine who passed.
Yeah.
But
that's good though.
Yeah. So yeah, of all the songs, pop songs and whatever, good songs, bad songs, is just like the next step for me is really like, of the 40, like what's the next one to produce? Like part of me is like, go for the song that everyone's gonna love, and another part of me is like, go for the song that means the most to me. And that's what was nice about This Is Life. It kind of blended a song that I think other people will like with a song that meant a lot to me.
You did that for the movie, right? Was it in the movie?
It was in the movie, yeah.
We did a movie. He's in the movie, by the way, guys.
The one that's going to stand out the most from the movie, though, is called Rise.
Oh, yeah.
And then Weasel, too, was another one. One day a weasel, another day a man, winding back up on that same easy plan.
Yeah, because this is about, I guess, security or, like, growth. And maturing. Yeah. What type of movies you fuck with? Like, what's going on there? Like, do you care about movies, or you just, like, only
no. I do. I definitely, as time has gone over, I lean towards comedies, because normally when I'm getting into a movie, it's like I've had a long day and I just want something to relax to. But like in terms of like classics, I mean, you got a lot of my favorites right here on the wall. Tarantino is a big influence of mine. Pulp Fiction, when it first came out, was like outrageously good. But I love Wes Anderson films. I really do. Yeah. You know, when people ask, do you have a favorite movie? I just am able to quickly say Royal Tenenbaums.
Yeah, that's in my top 5 all the time. That's a great fucking movie.
It's so good. It's got all the components from soundtrack to a great cast, to great writing, great set design, great lighting. I mean, if you're a film student, obviously Wes Anderson comes into the mix. But that one just like kind of hits a little bit of everything for me. Yeah. And like the scene with I can't remember her name in the movie, but Margot stepping off the bus and him seeing her for the first time.
Yeah, that shit got me in my bag.
I know. Nico, I was like, oh yeah, Nico, yeah. I keep on walking. I don't do too much talking these days.
I remember I played that song and imagine this one joint I was like obsessed with. This one girl I was obsessed with. I watched this when I was like 15 and I was obsessed with this girl. I lived in I still live that shore community in Jersey.
Right,
so every summer I'd see her. And then when I would go home in Jersey, I would play that song and think about her.
Dude.
And that shit.
These days I seem to think a lot about the things that I forgot to do.
Yeah, I forgot to actually tell her how I feel. Like that type of shit.
Yeah, every now and then you run into that woman that time slows down, you know, or you run into that person where time slows down. And yeah, that scene catches that for me for sure.
Yeah.
And then the scene too where he's like shaving his head and, you know, the